Meet the 2025 Mazda CX-70. It's Mazda's new two-row midsize SUV. You might think it looks really similar to the CX-90 because it's basically the same car just without the third row of seats. There are a few other visual changes to separate this vehicle from CX-90, but it's very similar to the CX-90, which is a good thing because that was a great car. If you are looking at buying or leasing a new car, it could be a two-row midsize SUV like the Mazda CX-70 or an all-electric pickup truck like this Chevrolet Silverado EV. I can help by curating a customized list of vehicle recommendations that fit your needs. Visit drakemoscow.com/buying a car to see how I can help you find a new car. Just like CX-90, CX-70 is available as both a plug-in hybrid that uses a 2.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder paired with a 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack to make 323 horsepower and go about 25 miles on electricity alone, or a 3.3-liter inline six-cylinder producing either 280 or 340 horsepower. Really, the biggest difference between CX-70 and CX-90, other than the lack of the third row, is that the CX-70 has a lot of dark trims. The badging, the door handles, the window surrounds are all black on CX-70 where they were chrome on CX-90. Ooh. Now, I'm not kidding when I said that the CX-70 is basically just a CX-90. The proportions, all of the body panels, everything about this car is the exact same other than the coloring and this little 7 instead of a 9 that you get on the CX-90. Opening up the tailgate of CX-70, you are going to find 39.7 cubic feet of storage capacity. So that's really good for a two-row midsize SUV. That's definitely on the higher end. You can also lower the second row of seats by pressing these buttons in the rear cargo area, which is super nice. As you can see, we have a set of golf clubs in this car. There is a lot of space in the CX-70. I did ask Mazda why they didn't just build a two-row version of the CX-90 instead of launching a whole new model with the CX-70, and they said that there's a stigma against buying three-row midsize SUVs. Some people just don't want to be seen driving around that big of a car. So even though this is the same size as CX-90, being a unique model with CX-70, one less row of seats, that's going to appeal to a lot more people than just launching a two-row version of CX-90. Sitting here in the back of CX-70, unlike CX-90, which can come with second row captain's chairs, the CX-70 is exclusively a bench here in the second row, so it is exclusively a 5-seater. You have a nice armrest to fold down, pretty comfy, and I do have a really good amount of space here in the second row, plenty of knee room, plenty of foot room, and even though there is a panoramic sunroof, I at 6'2" also have plenty of headroom. There are heated seats for both outboard seats and its own set of climate controls, including manual peasant blockers, which is pretty nice. So it's definitely a very spacious back seat, and even though there aren't captain's chairs back here, it's still a really comfy space. Standing now next to an inline 6 CX-70 in this beautiful red paint, it highlights, one, how beautiful the car is in general, and two, the differences between inline 6-cylinder and plug-in hybrid. The other one was black, so you couldn't really tell, but you can see that the wheel arches of the CX-70 inline 6-cylinder are body color. This is the same as you would get in CX-90, and that's in contrast to the CX-70 plug-in hybrid and CX-90 plug-in hybrid, which have the contrasting black plastic wheel arches. I think the wheel arches being body color really helps make the inline 6-cylinder CX-70s and 90s look a lot more premium. I definitely prefer this look. This isn't really your off-road capable mid-size SUV, so I think going for the more urban, sleek look really does fit the vibe of CX-70 and CX-90 better than the plastic wheel arches. I do wish that the PHEV also had these body-colored ones, and just this paint in general is so beautiful on the CX-70, so I like that you get a little bit more of it on the wheel arches. You can also note that all of the badging and the side view mirrors and the window surrounds and the roof rails, they are all dark on the CX-670. You also get dark trim down below the door, so they went with a darker vibe where you would find chrome on the CX-90. This is exactly what Forrest did with his personal CX-90 that he got for a year. I like the look of this. I think this is definitely, like, this spec might be the best looking spec of CX-90, CX-70 that you can get, because I love the dark elements, and then I also love the body colored wheel arches. All right, driving the CX-70 inline 6-cylinder, and you know, last year when I drove the CX-90 for the first time, I concluded that I enjoyed the PHEV version better. But driving the CX-70 now, I think I find myself liking the inline 6-cylinder. So this is the more powerful of the inline 6-cylinder options. This is the 340 horsepower version. And you know, I love the PHEV. It's a great engine option when you have a lot of charge in the battery, because then you're either predominantly driving on electricity or alone, or you get the instant torque of the electric motor in conjunction with the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. However, once the battery is depleted, which doesn't take all that long to occur, because it's a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery pack in a pretty big 2-row midsize SUV, then you are just relying on that 2.54, and I don't love that engine by itself. The car just feels a little strained once you lose electricity from the battery. This 3-cylinder never feels strained, or this 6-cylinder, it's 3.3 liter inline 6-cylinder. This engine just always feels like it has enough power, and it feels very smooth. I feel just a bit more confident behind the wheel of this car all the time, similar to how confident I feel when there's a lot of juice in the battery of the PHEV, but you lose that confidence once the PHEV's battery is depleted. So if you predominantly do trips around town, then you're gonna be fine. You get about 25 miles of all electric driving, or if you put the car in sport mode for the PHEV, then the engine will always remain on, but it feels very powerful. However, in a road trip setting, you're gonna deplete the battery, and then you're just going to be relying on that 4-cylinder. And again, it just doesn't feel as satisfying. This 3.3 inline 6 really does feel good all the time. You're never going to, lose part of the powertrain, which you can when the battery is depleted in the CX-70. Now, you can charge up the battery in the CX-70 PHEV. There's a button in the center console to direct energy from the engine into the battery pack, but it's just not ideal that sometimes you're not going to be getting all of the power that that engine and that powertrain are supposed to produce. So for that reason, just the simplicity of this 3.3 inline 6 and just knowing that you're always going to get all of the power that it's advertised, it's pretty nice. And I do really think this engine is a good fit for this car. It's obviously not going to get as good of gas mileage. If you live in an urban setting, the PHEV makes a lot of sense. But then again, when we're talking about a 2-row midsize SUV versus a 3-row midsize SUV, there are a lot of other PHEV options that go a bit further. I'm thinking Volvo XC60, Hyundai Santa Fe, although the new Santa Fe doesn't have a PHEV. Hyundai Tucson is a bit smaller than this car, but it has a good PHEV system too. So it's interesting how when you ditch the 3rd row, obviously what makes the PHEV of this car so interesting, of the CX-90 so interesting, is that there's not a lot of 3-row mid-size SUVs that offer a PHEV option. So it's cool that the CX-90 does, but there are quite a few 2-row mid-size SUVs or 2-row compact SUVs that are pretty, they kind of blur the lines these days, that are hybridized, that are electrified. So it's a little less special in CX-70 versus having a 3.3 liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder that is a bit more special in the 2-row midsize SUV category. And yeah, this engine is really good. It's very linear, the power delivery of this car. It still definitely leans the CX-70, but I do notice that this inline 6-cylinder is lighter than the PHEV. It obviously isn't lugging around that big battery, and it really does just kind of push the car forward. You just kind of get a lot of thrust. It kind of feels like an airplane taking off. You get just linear power all the time. It feels really good. I also love the cabin on this particular CX-70. You have a suede Alcantara material on the dash. It's the same caramel color as these seats, which are beautiful. You have a 2-tone steering wheel, black and the caramel color again. It just looks amazing. You have the faux wood trim. I definitely think this is the interior color to get. Definitely more interesting than the black. I'm not sure that this color comes on the PHEV, which is a bit disappointing. The inline 6 is also just the more stylish of the two cars because you get the body colored wheel arches and you get these cool interior color combinations. I find myself really enjoying this inline 6 in a way that you can't always enjoy the PHEV. One thing that CX-70 does have that CX-90 doesn't currently have, although CX-90 will be getting, is Amazon you-know-who built in. So I can be, Alexa, what is the weather?
In Mountain Center, it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun.
Yep.
Today's forecast calls for more of the same, with a high of 100 degrees and a low of 68 degrees.
It's a warm one here in the desert, but yeah, this is a solid vehicle. Driving here in sport mode, it feels very athletic. You put your foot down and you get the power. Yeah, really like this car. Similar to the CX-90, cool that you now get it in a two-row package, although the price is the same. So for me, if I was looking at these two cars, I'm not going to be using the third row all that much, but the fact that you have it and the ability to have the third row, that is enticing just in case I ever need to be transporting more than 5 people. That added practicality of just in case, you're not really losing that much cargo capacity. You obviously get chrome trim instead of the black trim that you get on the CX-70, though I wouldn't be surprised if CX-90 moves in that direction too, in a model year or two. But yeah, you know, same price, just a little less seating and a little different styling. I love the styling of this one more than the CX-90, but they're not all that different. So that's the 2025 Mazda CX-70. It looks, it feels, and it drives a lot like Mazda CX-90, which is a great thing. But if you can't stomach buying a 3-row, well, now Mazda has the car for you. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.